So I said that ECG is a component of perioperative monitoring of patients. Whatever may be the NIH class or the type of surgery and intensive care units, most patients need ECG monitoring. So we have to know about ECG, and from exam point of view, ECG will be a part of the practical examination. And hence we should know. I said that there are 5 waves in the ECG: P, Q, R, S, and T. As we go ahead with this session, I'll be asking you questions. I have 3 candidates, Roshni, Priyanka, and Pooja. And if anybody else who is the exam appearing, they can volunteer. So first I said that the QRS duration normally should not exceed 0.1 second. And the PR interval should not exceed 0.2 seconds. Can Pooja repeat that?
The
QRS should
QRS
not.
interval should not exceed more than 0.1 second and PR interval should not exceed more than 0.2 seconds.
Yeah, 0.2 seconds. So because this is vital when we are talking about broad QRS and also in heart blocks, we should know what is the PR interval. So that is the first thing. Now coming to P wave abnormalities, here you have a normal looking P wave. This is broad and notched P mitral. Actually, you may see double P peaking of this wave, P wave, sorry here, P wave. In patients who have mitral disease, this is the broad P wave, which may look like M, that's why it's called P mitral. And you have tall P wave, which is P pulmonalis, is seen in respiratory disorders, and right atrial hypertrophy as a result of right ventricular hypertension. Patients who have pulmonary hypertension or increased RV pressure, they will have this tall peaked P wave, P pulmonary. And then this is the QRS. We said that it should not exceed 0.1 seconds. And if there is no R wave, it is called as QS complex. And if there are 2 positive reflections, first one is R, second one is R dash. And if it is small, you use a small letter. If it's big, you use a bigger letter. For example, here, you are using a bigger letter, that is R wave. And we should also understand that the ventricular activation, septal activation occurs first from the left side to the right side. From the left side to the right side first. So that is how you get the Q wave, which is negative, small Q wave, and then large R wave, which is positive on the chest leads, and the activation of basal part of the left ventricle gives rise to again a negative wave, that is the S complex. This is Q, this is R, and this is S. And then the next thing is we should know about the ST segment. ST segment is normally isoelectric. ST segment is isoelectric, and it is usually compared to the TP segment of the ECG. TP segment is invariably isoelectric. To be able to say that ST segment is elevated or depressed, you can look at the TP segment and then say whether it is elevated or depressed. This ECG shows ST segment depression. This ECG shows upsloping ST segment, usually seen in tachycardia. It does not signify presence of disease normally. And this ST segment is because of digitalis toxicity, digitalis effect and toxicity, where there is sagging ST segment, and sometimes they call it as inverted tick sign. And these two represent left ventricular strain pattern, where there is ST segment depression associated with T wave inversion. It may be associated with left ventricular hypertrophy pattern, or it may not be, as is shown in the second picture here. Then in hypokalemia, you may see a U wave with ST segment depression and T wave inversion. And then this is ischemia. ST segment depression and T wave inversion in ischemia. How to differentiate this and this? Here it is symmetrical inversion. In ischemia, it is symmetrical inversion. And this is acute myocardial infarction where there is ST segment elevation. If the ST segment elevation is looking like this in all leads, it indicates pericarditis. If the ST segment is elevated in all leads, it indicates pericarditis. And tall peak T waves are seen in hyperkalemia. This is hypokalemia, this is hyperkalemia. So to repeat, ST segment depression, subendocardial ischemia, this upsloping ST segment, sinus tachycardia may not be pathological, sagging ST segments, in digitalis effect and toxicity. These two are ST segment depression with T wave inversion associated with the LV hypertrophy. It's a sign of left ventricular strain, can be seen in hypertensive individuals or aortic stenosis. And this is hypokalemia where you see U waves. And in myocardial ischemia, there is T wave inversion, which is symmetrical. Acute myocardial infarction, there is ST segment elevation in two consecutive limb leads or chest leads, depending upon the location of the infarction. If you have ST segment elevation in all leads universally, it signifies pericarditis. Tall peak T waves are seen in hyperkalemia. So these are the types of abnormalities which we can detect: cardiac arrhythmia, myocardial ischemia, conduction defects, electric disturbances. And how do you interpret the ECG? First, you have to see what is the heart rate. Is the rhythm regular? Is there a P wave for each of the QRS? That is, each QRS is preceded by a P wave. And is there a P wave looking normal or abnormal? Then QRS complex is it normal or abnormal? Fifth point is, how is the ST segment? And is there any T wave abnormality? Sixth is make a diagnosis and determine whether the rhythm is dangerous. So if you follow this protocol, even if the diagnosis is wrong, you will get reasonable amount of marks. If you straight away jump to the diagnosis without going through a systemic protocol, you may not get full marks, even though the diagnosis may be correct. So what is the heart rate? How do you determine the heart rate? Number of big squares, 300 divided by number of big squares. How do you determine the heart rate, Priyanka? Priyanka is there? Roshni, how do you determine the heart rate in ECG?
Sir, 300 divided by big squares or 1500 divided by the number of small squares.
Small squares. But if the rhythm is irregular, you have to take the number of R waves in a 6-second strip and multiply that by 10. If the rhythm is irregular, you have to take a rhythm streak for 6 seconds and multiply number of R waves in that by 10. For example, you have atrial fibrillation. This rule will not hold good. 300 divided by number of big squares will not hold good. So you have to take a 6 second rhythm strip, number of R waves into 100 into 10 will be the heart rate. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that is the heart rate. Next step is the rhythm regular? Is it coming regularly? R wave, RR intervals are equal or not? You have to see. Third thing is P wave. Is there a P wave for each QRS, and how is the P wave? Is it normal looking? Is it inverted, or if biphasic? You have to see that one. Then QRS complex, is it narrow or broad? Fifth is ST segment, is it depressed, isoelectric or elevated? And T wave, is it normal, upright, or is it inverted? And then we have to make a diagnosis. So I'll give a few case scenarios, one after another. You have to tell me. First is Roshni, followed by Priyanka. Is there?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else exam going in there? Roshni, Priyanka, Pooja, Bhuvalka, and who else is there? Only 3 as of now. Can you reply to me?
Yes, sir.
3 of you. Huh? Sorry? Shehnaz. So 4 of you are there. So I will give a clinical scenario followed by ECG. You have to look at it and then tell me what is the abnormality and what is the etiology, how to diagnose it, and then treatment. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First is Roshni. 35-year-old female is undergoing thyroid surgery, develops heart rate of 140 per minute. ECG is like this. You have to tell me what is the rate,
Yes,
what is the rhythm. Is it sinus, that is P wave before QRS? Then you have to see for QRS duration and then ST segment abnormalities, T wave abnormalities, and then diagnosis. Then you have to tell me the causes and treatment.
Okay, sir.
What is the heart rate here?
Heart rate is 300 divided by number of big squares, sir. So it is approximately 2 big squares. So around 140 to 150 it will be
Very
heart
good.
rate.
It's about 150 per minute. That's correct.
And it is regular in rhythm, sir.
It is regular in rhythm. That's good.
Then P wave is followed by QRS complex.
P
And
wave precedes. Yeah, P wave is followed by QRS. Very good.
and P wave is less than 0.2 seconds and QRS is less than 0.1 second.
Okay.
So it is normal. And there is an upsloping of the ST segment, which shows that there is tachycardia.
Okay.
And
T wave is upright.
yes, sir.
So what is the diagnosis?
Sinus tachycardia, sir.
So the diagnosis is correct. So you tell me what is the definition of sinus tachycardia? What are the causes for sinus tachycardia and how do you treat it?
Sinus tachycardia is defined as heart rate above 100, sir, and which is sinus in rhythm. The causes are physiological causes are there, pathological causes are there. Physiological causes is exercise
Yes.
and
Anxiety, nervousness, pain.
Hello?
Anxiety.
Yes, sir.
Pain.
exercise, anxiety, then pregnancy can cause sinus tachycardia. Then pathological causes are pain, then
Yes.
then light plane of anesthesia can cause tachycardia.
Very good.
Then hypovolemia, sir. Then hyperthyroidism.
Hypovolemia, hyperthyroidism, pulmonary embolism, congestive heart failure, shock conditions. Patients in shock will have sinus tachycardia.
Yes, sir.
And some drugs like atropine, ketamine, pancuronium, adrenaline, and most of the inotropic drugs cause tachycardia.
Tachycardia. Yes.
Okay,
Sir.
what is the treatment?
Treatment is mainly treating the cause, sir.
You have to treat the cause.
Yes.
You have to treat the cause, and if the cause is not obvious, and if you really want to control the rate, you can use beta blockers. But the principal treatment is treat the cause. Fever should be treated, anxiety should be treated, pain, hypovolemia, pulmonary embolism, congestive heart failure, shock, all those things must be treated. So this is sinus tachycardia. Next we'll go on to Priyanka, is there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we have a 74-year-old male undergoing prostatectomy under spinal anesthesia, develops a heart rate of 40. And the ECG is like this. Heart rate is already shown as 40. What is the heart rate here? You forget about this bit. There is a sinus pause. You forget about this. You tell me what is the heart rate here. Spinal anesthesia is given.
Heart rate is
How many
around
squares? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
is around 45, sir.
300 by 7. Okay, 45. Okay. Is the rhythm regular? Forget about this.
Yes, rhythm is regular and P wave is normal, sir.
Okay.
And,
Your is duration.
0.12.
It is narrow.
QR is
narrow.
narrow.
Usually you can say narrow or broad. That should be enough. And then go to STT.
ST is sloping, sir. ST segment.
Okay.
And
T wave is upright.
T waves are normal.
Upright. So this sinus bradycardia, about 40 is the rate. And there is a sinus pause. We are not going to bother about it as of now. And you have to tell me what are the causes. What are the causes for bradycardia? How do you define bradycardia? And what treatment can be given?
Bradycardia is defined as heart rate of less than 50 beats per minute. Causes are physiological and pathological. Physiological maybe in athletes, trained athletes.
Yes.
And pathological hypothermia.
Very good. Hypothermia.
And
do you get bradycardia in eye surgery? Eye surgery?
Yes, sir. Vagal stimulation.
What do you call that one? What do you call that?
Oculocardiac reflex, sir.
Yeah, oculocardiac reflex. Increased intracranial tension.
Raised intracranial tension.
Meningitis. And, myxedema. Myxedema, do you get bradycardia or not?
Hypothyroidism. Yes, sir. Myxedema.
Bradycardia will be there in hypothyroidism. So the causes for this thing is eye surgery, that is oculocardiac reflex, meningitis, increased intracranial tension, myxedema, hypothermia, and also vasovagal syncope. Sometimes patients come for procedure under local anesthesia, put the needle to the injection local, they get vasovagal syncope, heart rate drops and they pass out. Isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, these are the causes. What's the treatment?
Treatment is uh, removal of the stimulus and inotropy, chronotropy, sir, by giving atropine.
Atropine, okay. What are the other things which can be done? I think we should follow the AHA algorithm. AHA algorithm, we divide the bradycardia into symptomatic and asymptomatic. Okay. Symptomatic bradycardia and bradycardia without symptoms. If it is bradycardia without symptoms, if the blood pressure is all right, you can just monitor the patient. Symptomatic means patient has hypotension, congestive heart failure, syncope, chest discomfort, and signs of cardiac failure in terms of crepitation at the base of the lungs. What is symptomatic bradycardia?
There is hemodynamic instability, hypotension, congestive heart failure, syncope, chest discomfort, and signs of heart failure like crepitations in lung bases.
Yeah. In these cases, we have to treat. Patient is having symptoms. So this symptomatic bradycardia, we have to treat it. So atropine 0.5 milligrams is given. Up to a total of 3 milligrams can be given with an interval of 3 to 5 minutes. Or you can use dopamine infusion. Dose is 2 to 20 microgram per kg per minute. Or epinephrine 2 to 10 microgram per minute. So the dose is similar, but here it is per kg. But there's no per kg here. Just note this one. Dopamine 2 to 20 microgram per kg per minute. Adrenaline is 2 to 10 microgram per minute, not per kg. Okay. And you can use transcutaneous pacing or transvenous pacing. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Priyanka, is it clear? So you have to divide them into symptomatic and asymptomatic. Asymptomatic, you have to monitor. Symptomatic, if the patient is having hypotension, chest pain, angina, signs of shock, mental status is altered like syncope, there is ischemic chest discomfort, then you have to treat it. Atropine, dobutamine, epinephrine, the transcutaneous pacing or transvenous pacing. Okay. Next we'll go to Pooja Bhuvalka. Pooja, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next case. 65-year-old male undergoing herniorrhaphy developed under general anesthesia develops irregular pulse. And this is the ECG.
Yes, sir. ECG, QRS,
What is the heart rate?
uh,
First, you have to see heart rate.
heart rate is not regular, sir. So I'll see a strip of 10,
No,
6
heart rate
seconds.
is not regular, except for this, it is regular. Except for
Okay,
speed, it is irregular. So what is the
okay,
heart?
sir.
1, 2, 3, 3.5.
4, 3.5.
Yeah.
So it should be 300 divided by 3.5. So almost 85, 86 beats
Okay,
per
heart
minute.
rate is about 80, that's fine. Is it sinus rhythm?
P wave is preceding QRS, sir, for all the beats. So it is sinus rhythm.
Okay.
Then P wave is looks normal. QRS, there is no R, it is QS complex,
Very good.
inverted. Then ST segment is isoelectric, and there T wave looks T wave looks normal.
T wave is upright, so you don't do it, as long as it's upright, it is fine. It is not tall peaked T wave, it's upright, looking normal. So what is the
Yes.
diagnosis now?
Well, PVC is there.
Is it PVC? PVC, the QRS will be invariably broad.
Okay, sir.
So what is this? This is not broad as compared to this. This is same width as the other normal looking ECG QRSs. This one is the abnormal beat. So what is this? This is an atrial ectopic.
Okay, sir.
There's no P wave there, so it's an atrial ectopic. The P wave is here, 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 but here there's no P wave. So this is a atrial ectopic beat. So what is the treatment? What are the causes?
Atrial ectopic. Um,
Actually, if it is isolated like this, one or two here and there, it is okay, but it may be warning sign of hypokalemia, ischemic heart disease, hypoxia, hypercapnia. So no treatment is actually needed for this, but you have to check the potassium, correct the acid-base imbalance, blood gas abnormalities you have to correct. Okay, hypoxia, anything is there to correct. If it is isolated like this, it is of no consequence, but it may be a warning sign. You should see what is, or if this may be precursor for ventricular, atrial supraventricular tachycardia. Okay.
okay, sir.
This is atrial ectopic beat, and now we'll go to Roshni again. Next case. Roshni, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
This is the case. 10-year-old child under halogen anesthesia for undescended testis develops a bradycardia of 50 per minute and has a blood pressure of 70/50. This is a child, so 50 is bradycardia for the child, certainly. And blood pressure is slightly low and ECG looks like this.
The respiratory, I mean, the heart rate is 300 divided by 1.
3,
7,
4,
sir.
5, 6, 6.5. Okay, 7.
7.
Mm.
So it's around 45 heart rate, sir.
Okay.
Then P wave is not there.
P wave is not there, correct?
And it is regular, sir.
It's regular.
Then QRS is less. It's about point. It's more than 0.1, sir.
So this QRS widening is there.
Widening. Then T wave looks normal, sir.
T wave is upright.
Yes, sir.
What is this one here? This one. That's
Is
actually
it Osborne wave, sir? I'm not sure.
no, this is actually a P wave coming
Oh,
after QRS.
okay.
So here, there's no P wave here. So what is the rhythm here?
So it's regular rhythm and P wave is coming after the QRS complex.
So this is, what is the rhythm?
Junctional rhythm, sir.
This is junctional rhythm, correct?
Yes, sir.
Junctional bradycardia. Because it is
Okay.
symptomatic, patient is having hypotension. You have to treat this, and the offending agent here is halothane. You have to withdraw halothane, and
Okay, sir.
then if it still persists, you have to treat it with atropine, dopamine, epinephrine pacing in that sequence.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now next one is Priyanka. Are you there? Priyanka, are you there? Next case is for you.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay. A 56-year-old male suffering from chronic bronchitis develops sudden onset of palpitation associated with sweating. Okay, sudden onset of palpitation, he's saying palpitation and this sweating. And when the ECG was done, it looked like this.
Here, heart rate is around 150, sir.
150, 300 divided by
1.5, around 120.
it's about 1.5, no, 1.5.
Around 200, sir.
About 200. Actually, heart rate is about 200.
Yes, sir. Mm,
Rate is 200.
Rate is 200 and rhythm, regular rhythm, sir.
Okay.
And
QRS is normal or wide?
QRS is normal only, sir.
It's narrow.
Narrow.
ST segment.
ST segment is down sloping, sir.
Yes, depression is there because of the tachycardia.
ST depression. Yes.
Yeah, ischemia because of tachycardia. If there is ischemia, tachycardia, sometimes they may have ischemic changes. So what is the diagnosis?
Sinus tachycardia, sir.
Is there a P wave?
P wave. Yes, sir.
There is no clear-cut P wave in this. So this is supraventricular tachycardia or narrow complex tachycardia, regular, which commonly supraventricular tachycardia.
Yes, sir.
Is that, do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
This is supraventricular tachycardia. And now we have to see whether the patient is stable or unstable. So this patient is having palpitation and sweating. So whether he is stable or unstable.
Most probably hypotension, unstable, sir.
Yeah. So what are the causes of supraventricular? Actually, there's no need for you to know all these things because as long as you know that it's supraventricular tachycardia, that is good enough. The atrial rate is 150 to 200, and if all the beats are conducted to the AV node, the ventricular rate also will be 150 to 200. It is indicates a structural heart disease or any systemic disorder, and we will discuss the treatment with combined for all the supraventricular tachycardias. So the next case is Shirley. Yeah, what's the name? Shernon. No?
Shenaz, sir.
Shernaz. Shernaz, can you tell me about this case?
Yes, sir.
55-year-old lady with dilated cardiomyopathy complains of palpitation and giddiness. And ECG shows this one.
Okay, sir.
So you go for this one. This is 12 ECG, but we are interested in this.
So RR interval is irregular, sir. So
What is the rate?
in this, we have to take 6
5.
RR interval into this thing, sir. For 6 seconds, we have to take number of RR and multiply by
10. A number of R waves into, but it is reasonably regular here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's almost regular. So what is the 5 means? 300 by 5.
60, sir.
The heart rate is about 60. Then the P waves. It is
P waves are not there, no, sir.
these are all P waves. These are flutter waves.
Okay, okay, sir.
Each one is a flutter wave.
Okay.
And there is a AV block 1:5 to 1:6. For each 5 P wave, there is 1 QRS.
Okay.
Okay, which means that there is AV block is there.
Okay, sir.
In atrial flutter, there is usually 2:1 or 3:1, 4:1, 5:1, 6:1. AV block will be there.
Okay, sir.
The atrial rate is about 300 per minute. And because of the AV block, the ventricular rate will be proportionately decreased.
Okay.
And it is pathological condition. Okay, it has to be treated.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now we'll go to another scenario. Roshni, Pooja
Yes,
is there.
sir.
Pooja.
Yes, sir.
Take this case, 35-year-old female for mitral valvolectomy found to have irregular pulse on preoperative examination. ECG shows this one.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what is this? What is the rate? What is the rhythm?
The rate is irregular. So we'll see
Rate
with
is how
comfort.
much? Rate is how much? This thing this 6-second strip. So number of R
Yes,
waves
sir.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7
7
into 10.
into 10, 70.
Average heart rate is about 70.
70
And it is
heart rate.
irregular.
Irregular. Then P wave, multiple P waves are there, sir, for
These are
each
fibrillatory
QRS.
waves. There are no clear-cut P waves.
Yes, sir.
Fibrillatory waves are there in place of
Yes, sir.
12-count P waves.
Yes, sir.
So what is the diagnosis?
QRS, atrial fibrillation, sir.
This is atrial fibrillation. Clear-cut case of atrial. What are the causes?
Atrial fibrillation may happen because of right atrial enlargement, left atrial enlargement, cor pulmonale, then mitral regurgitation, then mm, um,
So you can divide the causes of atrial fibrillation in medical outpatient department. The commonest cause of atrial fibrillation is mitral valve disease,
yes, sir.
thyrotoxicosis, ischemic heart disease, cardiomyopathy, and severe diastolic dysfunction. Can you tell me that one? What are the causes for
Thyroid,
what are the causes for atrial fibrillation in medical setting?
yes, sir. Thyrotoxicosis,
First is
mitral valve
commonest is mitral valve disease.
Okay, so most common is mitral valve disease, then
Followed by
thyrotoxic,
ischemic heart disease, thyrotoxicosis,
ischemic heart disease,
cardiomyopathy. Yeah.
cardiomyopathy,
Severe diastolic dysfunction
okay, sir.
or advanced diastolic dysfunction. But perioperatively, commonest cause is hypokalemia and use of catecholamines. And there may be acid base and blood gas disturbances. Perioperatively, this is the commonest cause: hypokalemia, use of catecholamines, cardiac surgery, where right atrium or left atrium has been handled. Then you have acid base imbalance, blood gas abnormalities, electrolyte abnormalities. Okay, you have to divide them into perioperative causes. Sometimes both may be synced together. So this rhythm strip shows narrow QRS complex which are irregular. These are the causes. Now coming to the treatment of tachycardia with pulse. All this what we have discussed, tachycardia with pulse, so SVT, atrial flutter, atrial fibrillation, all these are tachycardia with pulse. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Tachycardia with pulse algorithm is there. We have to see whether if the patient's heart rate is more than 150, you have to look into the airway breathing circulation, start monitoring, administer oxygen. And if the patient is unstable, if there's hypotension, altered mental status, shock, ischemic discomfort, acute heart failure, we have to give cardioversion.
Yes, sir.
If the patient is unstable, you have to give cardioversion. If the patient is not unstable, that is stable, if the patient is stable, you have to see what is the QRS duration. If it is less than 0.12 seconds, we have to give vagal maneuvers, that is carotid sinus massage, adenosine, beta blockers, or calcium channel blockers.
Okay, sir.
You have to look into the QRS duration. If it is less than 0.12, you have to give carotid sinus massage, adenosine, beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, and expert consultation. But if the QRS is more than 0.12, you have to go for amiodarone. 150 milligrams over 10 minutes, followed by maintenance of 1 milligram per minute over 6 hours. Is that clear? Okay, do you want to repeat it?
From start, sir.
Yeah. Patient is having tachycardia with pulse. Heart rate is more than 150. Yeah.
Per minute.
What do you do?
Then we will proceed for airway breathing circulation. Then we will see if there is any symptoms of shock, chest pain, any chest discomfort, breathing difficulty, hypotension. If anything is there, then we'll give synchronized cardioversion. If these symptoms are not there, then we'll see QRS complex. If QRS complex is narrow, that is less than 0.12 seconds, then we will give vagal maneuver, atropine, or
not atropine. Don't say atropine. Patient is having tachycardia. Adenosine.
Vagal maneuver, adenosine, beta blocker or calcium channel blocker. If the QRS is wide, then we'll give amiodarone to the patient. Yes, 150 mg bolus in 10 minutes, followed by maintenance of 1 mg per minute.
Okay, next case goes to Roshni.
Yes, sir.
70-year-old male patient having laparoscopic cholecystectomy develops irregular heart rate after carbon dioxide insufflation of the abdomen. And ECG is like this.
Here it is irregular pattern, sir.
Yeah.
So we have to
ECG
take the
sinus rhythm.
P wave is followed by QRS, sir.
There is no P wave for this. This is the T wave.
Uh,
There is no P wave here. Here there is no P wave. This is ST followed by T wave and then this abnormal beat.
okay.
And
Okay,
it's,
sir.
and it's a broad complex ectopic beat.
Yes, sir. This is ventricular ectopic, sir.
Ventricular ectopic. Is it bigeminy?
Yes, sir.
It is
Because
ventricular bigeminy. Every second
bigeminy.
ectopic means it's a ventricular bigeminy.
Yes, sir.
What is the cause in this case?
By digitalis toxicity can cause.
No,
sir.
in this case.
Laparoscopic cholecystectomy is also peritoneal stretching can
Cholecystectomy, carbon dioxide.
Insufflation and there can be peritoneal stretching and vagal stimulation, sir.
In this case, it could be hypercarbia. You have to check the ventilation.
Yes, sir.
Carbon dioxide is being insufflated, whether the carbon dioxide tension is increased because of that. So you have to control that one. And the next is Priyanka.
Yes, sir.
Next case, 72-year-old male, known case of coronary artery disease, poor LV function, undergoing resection of hemicolon under GA, develops tachycardia of 200 per minute. Tachycardia of 200 per minute, BP 60. ECG is looking.
This ECG heart rate is around
Yes.
200 to 300, sir. Around 200.
200, yeah, 180, 200.
It is regular.
Yes.
There is no P waves.
No P waves, very good.
QRS is wide.
Very good. What is the diagnosis?
Probably ventricular tachycardia, ventricular fibrillation.
Ventricular, this is ventricular tachycardia. Pulse is there, no? The heart rate is there, and the blood pressure is 60. So, which means that patient is having ventricular tachycardia with pulse. So, what do you do in this case?
Rate control, sir.
How? Patient is unstable, no? Pressure is 60. You have to give synchronized cardioversion.
Feels cardioversion.
Synchronized cardioversion you have to give. Okay. Next case is for Pooja.
Yes,
Similar
sir.
72-year-old male, poor LV function, resection of hemicolon and GA, develops pulseless situation. And ECG is like this.
So this is white QRS complex with no P waves, irregular. This is ventricular fibrillation, sir.
This is ventricular fibrillation. So what do you do for ventricular fibrillation? It is emergency.
We will follow ACLS guidelines, so we'll start CPR.
Okay, what is this one? This is also polymorphic ventricular
ectopics.
This is called torsades, where the axis of the ventricular tachycardia is changing.
Okay, sir.
This is torsidy pointus. This is a ventricular ectopic here, followed by ventricular tachycardia. This is called polymorphic ventricular tachycardia.
Yes, sir.
So coming to the treatment of pulseless VT or ventricular fibrillation, pulseless VT or ventricular fibrillation, you have to start CPR immediately, and it's a shockable rhythm. You have to give DC shock, 120 to 200 joules if it is biphasic, 360 joules if it is monophasic, and start CPR. High quality CPR has to be given. Push hard, push fast. Rate should be 100 to 120 per minute. You must allow for complete chest recoil. There should not be any interruptions. And change the compressor every 2 minutes. If there is an advanced airway, if you already intubated the patient, you have to give 10 breaths per minute. Then there is no need to stop the CPR when you're giving breaths. But if the patient is not intubated, you have to give ventilation at a ratio of 2:30 compression. That is 30 compression and 2 ventilations.
Yes.
And epinephrine is given after second shock and repeated every 3 minutes in a dose of 1 milligram. And at the end of third shock, amiodarone in a dose of 150 milligrams is given intravenously, or lignocaine 1 to 1.5 milligram per kg is given. Okay.
Yes.
If there is ventricular fibrillation or pulseless VT, you have to follow the cardiac arrest algorithm. Now we'll go on to the next one. Roshni, what is this?
Here the rate is 7 big columns are there, sir. So
Yeah.
300 by 7, around 45 to 48 beats per minute.
It's about 40. This is a bradycardia.
Yes, sir. This is bradycardia.
Prolonged.
PR interval is prolonged, sir, and all beats are conducted, sir.
Yeah, but PR interval is prolonged. So this is first degree.
First degree heart block, sir. Yes.
First degree heart block. Priyanka,
Yes,
what is this?
Yes.
Here, PR interval is progressively increasing and there's a drop beat.
Drop. That is Mobitz type 1.
Very good.
Block,
This
sir.
is Wenke-Bach phenomenon or Mobitz type 1. Now, Pooja, you tell me what is this next one?
Here PR interval is constant followed by skip beat. So this is Mobitz type 2, sir.
Very good, very good. And next one is Sharnaz.
Hello, sir.
What is this?
This is P wave is not following QRS complex.
Okay.
It is third degree heart block, sir.
Very good. This is complete AV dissociation. P waves and QRS have no relation to each other. So this is third degree heart block. And this is atrial pacing. These are the atrial pacemaker spikes followed by QRS. Okay, this is atrial pacing, single chamber pacing. And this ventricular pacing, there's no P wave, ventricle is paced, and there's a ventricular complex followed by the ventricular complexes. This is dual chamber pacing, atrial pacing followed by ventricular pacing, which is also called as synchronous pacing. It improves the cardiac output by 20 to 40% when compared to single chamber pacing when you're using only ventricular pacing. And this is hyperkalemia, mild, moderate, and severe hyperkalemia. Once the potassium crosses 6.5, the T waves become tall. And next one, coming to ischemic heart disease, if there is subendocardial ischemia, there will be ST segment depression. If there is a transmural injury, there will be ST elevation. And depending upon the ST segment changes, you can diagnose which type of ischemic attack the patient is having. If in inferior infarction, it is lead 2, lead 3, and AVF. In inferior infarction, lead 2, lead 3, and AVF, and right coronary artery is the culprit. If it is posterior infarction, you will see ST segment depression and V1 and V2, and the left circumflex artery is culprit. If lateral infarction, you will see changes in lead 1, AVL, and V5 and V6, and left circumflex is involved. With anterior infarction, you find changes mostly in the V1 to V4. And you may also find in lead 1 and AVL. Here it's not seen clearly, but here you can see that ST segment is elevated here. V3 and V4 anterior infarction. Coming to anteroseptal, you have V1 to V4. ST segment elevation indicates left anterior descending artery occlusion. This in summary is the ECG. How to diagnose? You have to go by step by fashion using the rate, rhythm, P wave, QRS, ST segments, T wave abnormalities, and then come to a diagnosis and determine whether it's to be treated urgently or urgent treatment is not really warranted. Depending on that, you have to take immediate action. Sinus bradycardia, symptomatic atropine, epinephrine, dopamine, transcutaneous, transvenous pacing. Unstable tachycardia with pulse. Unstable, we will go for cardioversion. Tachycardia with pulse, which is stable. You have to look for the QRS duration. If it is less than 0.12, you have to go for vagal maneuvers, adenosine, beta blockers, calcium channel blockers. But if the QRS is greater than 0.12 seconds, you have to go for amiodarone in a dose of 150 milligrams in 10 minutes, followed by infusion of 1 milligram per minute. Then if there is pulseless VT or ventricular fibrillation, you have to follow the cardiac arrest guidelines. It's a shockable rhythm. We have to give shock 120 to 200 if it's biphasic, 200 joules for 360 joules if it's monophasic. And CPR should be instituted. High quality CPR should be given. Adrenaline is given after second shock, and amiodarone is given after third shock. Amiodarone dose is 150. Amiodarone or lignocaine can be given. Lignocaine is 1.5 milligram per kg. And you have to know the first degree, second degree, 2 types, and third degree heart block. And the acute myocardial infarction, what are the T wave changes and which leads signify which territory is involved. So with this, we'll conclude today, and X-ray will be taken by Dr. Vimal Raj sometime later. Okay, and thank you very much. The time is up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.